How's it going, people? Tactard Ted. It is Thursday, the 8th of September. How's everyone doing today? Just a little bit of housekeeping at the top of it. I wish to expend my sympathies to the English people at the loss of their monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. I have a lot of respect for Elizabeth II. She served in the Second World War as a truck driver or truck mechanic. I can't remember which. I think it was a truck driver. I'm not sure. She walked the walk and talked the talk. She was, she was a great monarch, and you can argue all the things that happened. Probably best that for her memory, for her legacy, she gets out now, although she doesn't have much to do in politics. The Brits are right now on the edge of catastrophe. Their economy is about to suffer greatly due to Boris Johnson and his infatuation with entanglements on the European continent. And yeah, sad to see her go. She had a good long run. Like I say, she's a World War II veteran, and it's a sad day. And I'll just make a prediction right now, not trying to be super negative. I don't think Charles is going to serve in the role of king very long. I think he'll leave and let one of his sons reign. At least that's what I hope for England. A younger, more vibrant monarch would do a lot. Even though the monarchs don't usually run their mouth and get involved in British politics, I think that a little bit of pressure from above would be a good thing. All right, so today's topic. For some of you who may know or may not know, I'm a fan of music. I like music a lot. And one of my favorite bands of the last 10 years is a Swedish band called Sabaton. Sabaton, metal genre, and just about all of their songs, with a few exceptions, are based on historical facts. And they have a song called A Price of a Mile. And The Price of a Mile is a song about a British offensive in World War I that had very small gains with a very large casualty rate. And, you guys welcome to go check it out. Both my youngest boys like that song. They really dig it. I dig it too. There's some cool fan videos out there on Facebook using All Quiet on the Western Front and other various World War I movies as a backdrop. I really kind of dig that sort of thing. But anyhow, what's the price of a mile? Well, what's the price of foreign aid? That's the question today. And I'll expand on that as we go on. For those of you who don't know, the Ukrainians have switched gears. They are no longer making a massive push in the Kherson region. They're out up north in the Kharkov region, pushing the Russian lines there, and they are making some gains. They are absolutely making some gains. Yet those gains are somewhat problematic. Now, for those of you who are Ukrainian fanboys, let me give you the news that's going to have you just all gushing and happy about the Ukrainian situation. Some of the pro-Russian bloggers in Russia, in Europe, are pissing their pants at the moment. They're pissing their pants because there are these Ukrainian gains, and they're asking, why hasn't Putin mobilized the army? And there's panic, 100% panic. A little something about these bloggers. This is not the first time they panicked. They panicked early on when there was a redeployment of Russian forces from the doorstep of Kiev. They panicked during the Kherson offensive. They panicked during the drone attacks in Crimea. These guys are panicky. They want it over quick. And that's the psychological part of this game, I guess. As you notice, I'm not panicky. And I'm not panicky for several reasons. And the first reason I'm going to tell you is that what's going on Kharkov is a lot like what happened in Kherson. The Ukrainians are going to make a splash. They're going to lose a lot of personnel, which there are already videos appearing on social networks, mainly Telegram. If you guys don't have Telegram and you're interested in the war in Ukraine, I suggest you get Telegram. There are pictures of the ambulance convoys going to Kharkov to take care of all the Ukrainian dead and wounded, although they don't really take care of the dead. They just kind of leave them lay on the field. Why am I not worried about it? Well, one reason is I'm not worried about it is the Ukrainians are talking about all these gains they're making, and they're refusing to name the villages. And they're saying this in the name of OPSEC, or they're trying to push it off on OPSEC, Operational Security. There's a problem with that. If I'm a front commander for the Russian army and my troops are kicked out of like Balaclava, I'm going to know about it. My troops aren't going to hide it. I'm going to know my guys were kicked out of there. So trying to say you're not going to say the names of the towns you've taken in the name of operational security is bullshit. Now, there are two reasons why somebody would not post their victories. Number one, which I will tell you straight up before you get aggravated with me, I think this is the least likely of the two, is that there are no gains. I do believe the Ukrainians are making gains there. But you would not want to name them if you didn't really take them. Because if you say, hey, I took this town, and you've got some guy living there who has a cell phone, still has service, you can get on Telegram, fuck no, I'm here, dude. There are no Ukrainians. What are you talking about? No, the Russian guys are out here. Here's a picture of me and Vlad on his APC. No, there are no Ukrainians here. I don't believe that's the case. I believe it's going to be number two. And number two is very simple. Why I really believe this is the case. You don't name towns because you don't want to show it up in the press 2-3 days later when those towns return to Russian control. I mean, if you say, hey, I'm attacking Gainesville, you know, I'm going to take the town of Gainesville. And I'm just saying that because I can't think of a Ukrainian village off that would be hypothetical. I'm taking Gainesville. And 2 days later, the other guy, hey, I got Gainesville back. Then you've lost some credibility. You've lost some of your zing to it. Well, if you don't name a name and the Russians say, hey, we retook Gainesville, well, I didn't know Gainesville was gone. And so you blunt the other guy getting a victory. I do believe that's the case, that these guys are going to lose a lot of this territory they're taking. This is going to be Kherson 2.0. They are making penetrations, surrounded on 3 sides by Russians and Russian artillery. And we saw what happened with the Rabbit's Foot in Kherson. They made this big, long penetration. They kept pouring in and pouring in and pouring in reinforcements, and they got bloated up. They got bloated up. They got wasted. They got fucked over. They died. And they poured a lot of men in here. And that's what they're doing now. They're pouring in troops left and right. They're pouring in equipment. And you may ask yourself, well, if this is the case, why are they doing this? What do they hope to gain? Well, I think a little bit of this can be explained by the visit of Blinken, the great American warmonger. And I'm an American, and I'm a bit of a warmonger. But I don't deal in the Ukrainian deaths for money, and that's pretty much what's going on, because he has just guaranteed $3 billion in aid to Zelensky. Zelensky may be one of the greatest serial killers of the 21st century, because he is willing to trade life for money. He is whoring out the Ukrainian people for aid. And we already know that a lot of this aid never makes it to the front. We know that a lot of this aid ends up in the hands of oligarchs, offshore accounts. A lot of the weapons are ending up in the hands that we wouldn't want them to. And there's really no accountability of where these weapons are going. But now we just doubled down $3 more billion. $3 more billion. I want to know where they get an extra $3 billion to piss away. I'm a taxpayer. I'd like to know. If you got this kind of money to piss away, why are my taxes so high? Why is anybody's taxes so high? Honestly, why is anybody's taxes so high? And even though I'm not a fan of free higher education, that would have been a far better use of the money than pissing it down the drain to Ukraine. I think the money needs to stay here, but no, we're dependent on putting it over. And Zelensky is more than willing to whore his people out to get more money. He has wasted thousands of lives. Right now, since the offensive in Kherson started, well over 4,000 Ukrainian dead. And you can figure 3 to 4 times as many wounded. So you're going to figure probably about, 12 to 15,000 wounded. For what? The gains in Kherson haven't lasted. They're being erased. The gains in Kharkov region are more than likely going to be erased. I will tell you one of the interesting things about the Kharkov region. Early on, when there was a redeployment, they backed way off around Kharkov. The Russians did. And they've been kind of playing cat and mouse around Kharkov. Kharkov has been nothing but a fixing operation, if you ask me. You're trying to say that that was a axis of attack in the current situation. There are 2 axes of attack. One aimed at Donbass. The other, which has been dormant up until the Ukrainian offensive, has been the southern axis, which is eventually going to take Nikolaev and Odessa and link up with Transnistria. There hasn't really been a northern axis of events. Everything above Kharkov has been fairly quiet. It's mainly a fixing operation. You're keeping Ukrainian troops there. And the Ukrainians are going to attack where they think the line is weakest, normally. Although they didn't do that. There were 30 new battalion tactical groups put in Kherson by the Russians just prior to the Ukrainian offensive. And you would think the great intelligence that's coming from NATO would help the Ukrainians not shoot their foot off. But there we are. There we are. So really, when you get down to it, we are still financing to fight to the last Ukrainian. It's criminal. It's absolutely criminal. And you think it's criminal now? Wait till the videos start showing up in another 2 months of Ukrainian women dying on the battlefield. It's going to happen, folks. It's going to happen. And of course, I'll make the predictions now. Every single female Ukrainian that falls into Russian hands, there's going to be immediate allegations that they're being raped and mistreated and abused and all this. It just does. That's what happens when you put women in combat. Those stories always come out. You don't want those stories coming out? Yeah, don't deploy your women. Don't deploy your women. But hey, if you want equal rights, hey, Ukrainian women are about to get equal rights. They're about to get the equal right to be drafted. I think we're entering into a whole line that we don't want to deal with. And like I said, we are supporting a criminal regime. We are supporting criminal individuals. And we're allowing Zelensky to throw lives of his troops away and reward him with cash. Reward him with weapons to sell, to end up in ISIS hands. That's also, I gotta laugh because I love how everything comes out. And I probably have already alluded to it, and I apologize if I have. The great Ukrainian Chechen fighters. Most of these guys were ISIS just 2 years ago. Most of these guys were trying to kill Americans in Syria. And that's not even a joke. It's well known, it's well documented that there was a jihadi problem inside of Ukraine before all this happened. That a lot of these jihadis have sought asylum in Ukraine. And they don't mind serving in the Ukrainian army. And yes, there are Chechens that don't dig Putin. And they have went over and they have sided with the jihadis, the ISIS, they're, moderate Muslim head choppers. And yet we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about that at all. And it's funny how, like NPR, National Public Radio, they'll elevate these guys as being such great individuals. Yet they were killing Americans not long ago. And unlike the fake story about the Putin bounty in Afghanistan, these guys actually did go after and try to kill American soldiers. And you got to sit there and laugh at this. That, they're making such a great deal about these guys. We got no sense of irony whatsoever. Our media has no sense of irony. National Public Radio needs to be defunded. Hell with defunding the police. Who listens to radio anyhow? Who listens to radio? Seriously. Who listens to radio? National Public Radio is a joke. It needs to be defunded. There's no need for it. They need to be defunded, deplatformed, all that happy shit. There's no need for it to exist. Because the last thing we need is another propaganda outlet. So those are my thoughts today about the Ukrainian offenses. As you see, I'm definitely not pissing my pants. I've got a pretty firm grip on it. I've seen how things have been shaping up. Putin has been fairly resistant to declare war and mobilize the army, and I think it will take a lot more than this for him to do so. I'm hoping that the Russians will get some accountability here soon out of the IAEA, the UN organization that went to Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, and were there and saw the shelling and said the shelling needs to stop, but refused to say it's the Ukrainian shelling. Now, how do you know it's the Ukrainians? Well, number one, Ukrainian officers have admitted that they've been lobbing shells into that area. Number two, they're not saying who did it. If it was the Russians, you damn well certain that they would say it. Absolutely certain that they would say it. That's why you have to believe that it's not. And we send these people over there, and there was such a big to-do made about it, and it was such a great thing, and all the guys want to do is, no, the shelling must stop. Okay, who was shelling? We're not going to say. That's out of our scope. No, that's why you were sent there, was to figure it out. And you went there and you figured it out, and you didn't want to report it because you know it's going to fly in the face of the narrative that's being pushed. This is the same sort of thing that got Baldwin bankrupt in trouble. There's a certain narrative, and if you don't bend to that narrative, then you're not going to make money. You're not going to be able to say what you want. You're going to be denounced as a Russian bot, a Putin apologist, whatever. And really, this is a lot like a lot of slurs that go on. there are certain slurs about the homosexual community that were said. And what happened is a lot of homosexuals went out and embraced those terms to take the sting away. Hell, I just might as well embrace being called a Putin apologist or Russian bot or whatever. Embrace it. Don't care about it. I think a lot of people, at least these days, get upset about what other people think of them. It doesn't matter. For you to upset me, I have to value your opinion. In order to value your opinion, I have to value you as a person. And if I don't know you, I'll give you the proper respect. But once you immediately go to throwing accusations around that are baseless, I find it hard to respect that, because you're showing me that you really don't care to know about what you're talking about. You would just as soon throw your shit out there. And you would just as soon, I know what I'm talking about. You're a Putin bot. Why don't you move to Russia? I don't have to move to Russia. Never served in the Russian military. Served in the United States military. Long time ago. Back when we still shined boots. And more BDUs. Woodland camo. Yes, I'm a dinosaur. The fact that you would say, hey, why don't you go to Russia? Why don't all you little socialist fanboys, why don't you move to North Korea? You can help out the North Korean economy. That should be your utopia. It's a controlled economy ran by a dictator. You'll be able to love him and praise him and all the happiness. And if you guys want socialism like that, if you want real socialism, go to these countries. But back to my main topic. You don't see any panic out of me. And not that it's my war to begin with, but I want to see the Ukrainian situation settled once and for all. And the Ukrainians aren't going to settle it. The United States isn't going to settle it. The United States has caused this mess. We like to meddle in other countries. We like to cause our own problems. Or we like to instigate shit. And once the Russians have the Ukrainian question settled, it'll be done. It'll be over with. And it's going to be interesting. And as I've said before, the Russians, everybody, even the Russian bloggers, hey, let's get this over with. Let's end it. No, Putin's not interested in ending it early. He's not interested in letting the West off the hook early. What he is interested in is causing as much hardship and pain on the West through the West's own sanctions. He wants the West to be able to enjoy the sanctions they've created. And there's no lost sense of irony there. We made our own problems. The UK has made its own problems. The EU has made its own problems. Energy costs are going up. People are finding it harder to live. And it's all because you screwed with the guy that had his hand on the switch. I know. I'm going to be that old country boy saying, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. And you probably don't want to bite the hand that has its hand on your old switch. And I hear a lot of people bitching about, Trump told them. Yeah, Trump did tell them not to be dependent on Russian energy. Yeah, he told them. Is anybody ever going to tell the Biden administration or any of these other leftist morons, or even some of the rhinos, that America has oil? Maybe we shouldn't be dependent on foreign sources for our oil. Maybe we should start pulling it out of the ground and refining it and taking care of it ourselves, instead of being dependent on other countries. You guys aren't learning the lesson here. you should be able to learn from our own mistakes or the mistakes of others. The EU has a serious mistake. They are dependent on somebody else for their fuel instead of developing whatever availability there is in the EU for fuel. They've looked to Russia, and now there's a problem, and now their energy security is threatened. When are we going to learn that? Really, we have a lot of oil and coal and all sorts of neat stuff. All we need to do is take it out of the ground, but yeah, we won't. No, we'd rather invest in the fallacy of wind turbines and solar farms and all these other horrendous blights on the horizon. Anyhow, folks, you have a good day. I'll talk at you later. Bye.